Greetings travelers, I'm Gav. Welcome to another Last Epoch lore video. I want to take just a few seconds to thank you all for the support on my channel so far. I honestly never expected to be at 100 subscribers in less than a month of creating content. I hope to continue to be a valuable source of Last Epoch lore for the entire life of the game. You can expect gameplay and possible live streams to follow once I'm done covering the full story of Atera. As long as the game's fun and the story's intriguing, I'll be here among the community. If you aren't already subscribed, I'd love for you to join me and my growing community through the stories of Atera. Thank you all so much. And now what you're here for, the lore. Today we'll be exploring Chapter 2 of the campaign, and try to make sense of this ruined future that we found ourselves thrust into. In Chapter 1, after finally rescuing both Balthus and the shards of the Epoch from Orion, we returned to the Keeper's camp to begin the peace talks we had been summoned for in the first place. Balthus suddenly combines 2 of the 3 shards of the Epoch. He planned to take the shards to the future. I'm assuming his logic was that it takes 2 shards of the Epoch at minimum in order to unlock a portion of its power, the power to travel through time. If he used those 2 shards to reach the future and never returned with them, then he couldn't be followed, and Raya would never claim the Epoch. It makes sense to me. A time rift is opened, and we're brought into it with Balthus. We arrive in a ruined future, and Keeper Balthus is nowhere to be seen. A single shard of the Epoch lies on the floor in front of us. Now that you're caught up and ready for Chapter 2, let's get into it. The Crumbling Ruins. We find ourselves in what appears to be the same spot we were just standing in within the Keeper's camp. The statue of Atera lies crumbled and covered in void. The waypoint and center of where the Keeper's camp would still be looks similar as well, even though it too lies in ruin and is also covered in void. We pick up the shard and a bridge to the east is revealed. As we venture onward, we are attacked by several different void creatures, and we pass by some pretty grotesque sights. As we travel north along a ridge, we come to a guard near a bridge, Guardsman Willem. They state that we don't appear to be a void cultist and ask what we're doing out here. They offer to take us back to Last Refuge as it's not safe out here. We make our way through several more void creatures and come to a guard post. We speak with Elder Buron, who is somehow able to sense that we're carrying a shard of the Epoch. I'm still not sure how the elders do this. They tell us a tale of a foretold holder, some kind of redemption story or prophecy for this ruined era. We ask him who the elders are, and he simply says that they're the leaders of the Council of Last Refuge. He urges us to get to Last Refuge at once and present the shard to the council. We enter the tunnels and start making our way there. Last Refuge Outskirts. Captain Bravon informs us that Last Refuge is falling and that it's not safe. We convince them to let us through, stating that we need to reach the council chambers. Reluctantly, they allow it and we continue onward. We come to a wounded guard laying on the floor, Guardsman Dolus. Their loyal dog Minimus refuses to leave their side.
Minimus, run you stupid mutt!
Dolus is dying and asks us to find and help Guardsman Wick and the remainder of his regiment. Grund the Groll Farmer and Elder Mossburn are also in trouble and in need of aid. We continue through the outskirts. As reinforcements are lowered down on elevators, void worms of some kind emerge from the darkness below and destroy their lift, forcing the guards into the abyss. We hear constant screams as we pass through. We reach Elder Mossburn, who got lost while leading refugees through these tunnels. We inform them that we've cleared a path and to lead everyone to safety. Scattered throughout this camp are mushrooms big and small, as well as notes that are referencing them. One note reads, "Kier, you missed a mushroom. Signed, Belcor." Another one reads, "Well, it's finally done. Belcor wanted all the mushrooms outside the planters gathered up, even though I told him how only the whitecaps are edible. But he's the boss, I guess. Signed, Kier." I couldn't find any more notes throughout this mushroom camp. I also wasn't able to determine who Belcor and Kier are, or if they have any actual story significance. This might just be filler. The whole thing could be a cipher, or these could be monikers of some kind, pen names. Let me know down in the comments what you think about Kier and Belcor, and definitely let me know if you find any more notes hidden throughout the outskirts. We continue on to find Guardsman Wick, the refugees, and the remainder of Guardsman Dolus's regiment. Wick requests that we make our way through the void and into Last Refuge to request more reinforcements from their captain. We make our way further east and reach Grund the Groll Farmer. Grunn stayed behind, refusing to leave their grolls. Grolls are an ankylosaurus-looking beast that seem to be docile by nature and good at carrying heavy loads. Reluctantly, we convince them to flee. We've cleared a path to the guards. Notably, when we do kill maddened grolls, they're seemingly brought back to life or reanimated as a void-touched groll. This definitely sheds further light into the corruption and how the void kind of works. It appears to be some kind of hive mind almost, consuming and controlling almost anything and everything it touches. Finally reaching the entrance to the council chambers, we find another elder, Elder Erza, who's fighting back the void. We assist Erza in driving the void back when suddenly a massive creature called Void Penance appears. We take it down and enter the council chambers. The council chambers. We speak with Elder Gaspar, another elder who's strangely able to sense the shard of the epoch that we carry.
You? I can sense that you have a shard of the epoch, but that is impossible. Who are you?
He tells us how we can return to our time and gives us further insights into what the void is.
The void fell upon our world hundreds of years ago. All-consuming darkness spread across the surface and drove us into these caves. The last city of humanity. Last Refuge. Now that the void has finally found us, it will reach this place and snuff us out.
We ask how they plan to deal with the void and drive it back.
Elder Pannion is an expert at using the shard. He can weaponize it against the void. I have received word that his study is under attack. We may be out of time.
Gaspar speaks further on the shards.
They are the shards of the epoch, a relic said to have power over fate itself. And after hearing your story, I have no doubt in this now. It was broken into 3 shards long ago. We relied on one of them to sustain this place ever since the void destroyed the surface. We thought the other shards were lost, but with yours, we may have hope of surviving this.
We ask how we can help.
Everyone here is either too old or too injured to go warn Elder Pannion, except for you. Please, find him and have him return here before something terrible happens.
Before sending us on our way, he gives us idols of the gods of our time.
Please, take these idols with you. An idol of Lagon to guard you against chaos, and one of Eterra to guide you home, wherever that may be. The gods have long left this world, but their memory will give you comfort. Be safe, traveler.
This adds a bit of a lore backstory to why we carry these idols and derive power from them. Idols of Heorot, Majasa, and Raye exist in the game as well, alongside idols specific to each class in their study. For instance, the Mage's idol being of the Arcane, the Sentinel's idol being of Raye, once a soldier of Solarum themselves. Seemingly whatever study or god that each class would attribute their power to. I'm curious if there's a lore meaning to these class idols as well. Anyway, I just thought it was kinda cool. We start making our way towards Elder Pannion. The Last Archive. This archive has the potential to be every lore enthusiast's dream. Archivist Eric states that every piece of remaining history, every work of art, every record, every journal, literally everything that can be brought here to Last Refuge from the surface now lies here in the Last Archive. While I wish every single bookshelf could be interacted with, or that there were works of Eterran art lining the walls, there's really not too much. Scholar Rekrum is researching the Immortal Empire, but doesn't really give us any real insights. Scholar Caleb is terrified and begs us not to go in the same direction that Pannion did. He says that he's seen what the Void can do. Those that were consumed by the Void were made into something different, something horrible. We ignore Caleb's warnings and continue on. Here's where the juicy lore of this zone comes in. Scattered on the ground all throughout the zone are records of the first Elder, someone you might recognize.
I once believed the shards would be safe, where the gods could not reach. In the future, I was mistaken. I find myself in a ruined era. With only one shard left by my side, my purpose is clear. I must seek refuge, prevent others from this power, and locate the rest of the Epoch. What happened when I tapped into this power? Why did one shard come with me? Where are the others? Was all of this for nothing?
Just like us, Keeper Balthus is sent forward in time to this ruined future, except years before the time we find ourselves in now, especially based on the fact that these records are of the first Elder, the first of the Order of Elders that we just met. Like us, he only arrived with one shard of the Epoch. He seemed about as confused as we were on our arrival in the Crumbling Ruins.
It turns out I am not entirely alone. There are people who seek refuge, a means for survival. Given these were once the Olatri Mountains, is this what becomes of my people? I offered them shelter. The tunnels and Keeper ruins are still navigational, and with their help, we can build something new. Here, I will guard what little of the Epoch I have left, and find a way to protect us. This is not the end.
Balthus finds survivors, other refugees on this void-ridden surface, and leads them to shelter within the Keeper tunnels.
As quickly as I came here, it is now time to go. Last Refuge is as safe as it can be. We've created a sanctuary here. It is time I hang up the title of Elder Balthus. With that, I begin again. Here I leave my knowledge, the records of Itera's past and the millennia of wrongdoings that created this world. I am disturbed by this era, but it is not a mistake. It is the consequences of our actions. History is not observed. It is made. We must act.
Their final record is kind of cryptic. It's either them leaving Last Refuge and wishing everyone luck, or it could have been their last will and testament preceding their death. Let me know what you think of Balthus's final farewell down in the comments.
If you read this, I am gone. Keep Last Refuge safe. Fight off the void. Do not succumb to despair. I trust you all. You are my people, which is why I must go. May Itera protect you all.
We finally reach the entrance to the study. Pannion's study. We enter the study and find 3 of Elder Pannion's apprentices standing in the center. Apprentice Pharaon tells us that we're too late. Pannion has already gone to take the shard and face the void on his own. He tells us that the void has already taken them, and soon it will take Pannion too. Pharaon says, Oribus is already here. All 3 students transform into void-corrupted husks of their former selves and attack us, each possessing a different arcane ability. We take out all 3 and waypoint back. The Council Chambers. We tell Gaspar the bad news about the students and ask where Pannion is.
Pannion's students were corrupted. I see. Elder Pannion was here but a moment ago. He took the shard. I told him to wait, but he would not listen. I fear the void is manipulating him, turning his courage into arrogance. He's left to face the void alone. You must intercept Elder Pannion before the void claims him and seizes the shard. Knowing him, he is headed where the void broke into the city. Please, stop him.
Captain Ansel of the Council Guard asks us to tell their men to retreat, and if possible, secure the Armoury. They need to recover as many men and supplies as possible if they want to stand any chance of holding the void back. We head north and cross the wooden bridge. The Precipice. I'll try to provide context on where we are currently. I've overlaid a map of the Divine Era on top of a map of the Ruined Era. When we arrived in the Ruined Era, we were dropped into the Crumbling Ruins, seemingly once the Keeper's camp in the Divine Era. I don't exactly know where the entrance or exit to the Keeper's tunnels lie, but it seems to be somewhere around the Divine Era Northern Road area. Anyway, we're essentially very deep underground beneath the mountains that you see here. The precipice begins our descent even further. We head down a long wooden ramp and journey deeper into the Keeper tunnels. As you come to the bottom of the ramp, directly to the left is an accessible building of some kind. Within it, we find some kind of archaeological discovery, or history being preserved. Some kind of cave painting. From what I was able to dig up, Mike from EHG clarified on Reddit that this was a Kickstarter backer reward. There will apparently be a reference to one of the backers' other rewards, though I don't know if it's actually been found or even released into the game yet. Apparently the description of this cave painting and how it looked was up to the backer, so I'm not sure how relevant to the lore EHG actually kept it. Seen in the painting are two dragons battling in the skies, while what we can assume are opposing armies of the dueling dragons, fighting each other on the ground. Humans by the look of it. Apparently dragons were the rulers of the ancient era, but did they have armies and large human followings as well? It would make sense that such an old cave painting from the ancient era would still exist this far beneath the Terra's surface. The ancient era would have been over 7,000 years ago from the current future that we find ourselves in now. I wonder if we'll find out more about the dragons in future chapters. I definitely hope so. If you find anything more on this cave painting or have speculations, definitely let me know down in the comments. We fight through the void and continue downward. As we come to the end of a series of wooden bridges and platforms, we notice a gap in the ridge that we definitely won't be able to cross. Suddenly, a gigantic void worm springs up from the dark depths in between the gap. It's called an Idol of Loathing. They seem to be calling out to the void despairs that crawl up from the depths and attack us, while also summoning void forms and spewing devouring orbs at us. We take down the worm and out of nowhere, a time rift appears. There's nothing said about this and I'm not sure exactly why it happens. We still only have one shard of the epoch, but you know that we have to go in and explore. The Ancient Cavern. We're thrust back in time to the Ancient Era, over 7,000 years in the past, negative 6020 BE, which again I believe to mean before Emperor, so 6,000 years in the past of even the Divine Era. Not much is known of this timeline yet. The humans of this era were said to live among their goddess, Etera, in her temple, the massive floating safe haven that she built suspended in the air far above the ground, with gigantic chains holding the temple in place from the world's surface. We still appear to be deep underground in what would be built up to be the Keeper's tunnels, but for now it's just an ancient lava-filled cavern, with raptor-like creatures called Chirrian scattered throughout. The cave painting we saw earlier would have been carved somewhere in this very cavern all those years ago, preserved through time. Either that or the humans may not have even inhabited the ground level, not until Etera disappeared and her temple fell. We'll certainly be looking for more details to shed light on this era as we go throughout the story. We explore the remainder of the cavern and enter the time rift that we find on the other side of the ridge. The Precipice. The Ancient Era time rift returns us to the Ruined Era, back in the Precipice, except now we're conveniently on the other side of the chasm. We head northwest through more void creatures and come to the next zone. The Upper District. We cross a bridge and come to a hooded man named Olivon. They pray that the way back to the council chambers is clear and that it might not be too late for the others. We ask who the others are he's referring to, and they tell us that everyone in this Upper District square are fools. They followed a man named Ulikios who promised them safety under the gaze of Etera. They think that a statue can save them from the void. He asks us to help them if we can. We journey further into this district, looking for signs of any Last Refuge civilians that survived the void. Fighting through continuous void creatures, we finally come to the statue of Etera. Surrounding it are devoured husks and a single man kneeling beneath the statue. We dispatch the husks and suddenly the man transforms into their own void husk, much like Pannion's apprentices did. Their name is Ulikios the Betrayer. He gave the people of this district that followed him hope, when all that they ended up finding is the darkness and despair of the void. We take down Ulikios and head east through the final block of this district. The Armoury. We come to a giant molten crucible in the center of the room. Suddenly we're ambushed by waves of void fire enemies. After a while, we're attacked by the forge itself, a void-fused forge. The void has animated the very forge itself into some kind of elemental fire being. We continue north through the armory and come to a surviving guard. They tell us to find Manus the quartermaster, and he'll get supplies back to the captain. Fighting our way through void-fused armor and more void fire maggots, we finally reach Quartermaster Manus. Manus brings the remaining guards with him along with supplies back to the council chambers. We come to the entrance of the next zone, the lower district. A cavernous tunnel leads to a circle platform looking very similar to Pannion's study. As we approach the center of the platform, we see Elder Pannion, wrapped up and suspended in some kind of void webbing. They tell us to stay back, that they can feel themselves changing.
Stay back!
Suddenly, they're consumed fully by the void and turned into a void amalgamation, the husk of Elder Pannion. They have all the elemental abilities that their students had, plus a special void attack. They also randomly call out to a single being.
Arubis!
We dispatch Pannion, and suddenly the shard that they carried is now suspended in the air. Its presence seems to drive back the void, but it was too late to help Pannion himself. The shard we carry is drawn towards the other. We pick up the second shard, and suddenly a time rift is opened to an unknown point in time. The end of time. We appear on a rocky formation suspended over an infinite abyss. In front of us is an armored woman. We ask them where we are. What is this place?
You seem a little disoriented. First time here, traveler. This is what is left of your timeline, and many others. Welcome to the end of time. Don't act so surprised. Countless other travelers have come and gone from here. I must have looked that surprised my first time as well. Most of them don't last much longer. Jumping around timelines is a dangerous hobby. If you want a better chance, you should find your friend, Gaspar. He might be kind enough to show you how to tap into your true potential.
Elder Gaspar's here? We travel up a floating spiral staircase to meet with Gaspar. Along the way, we meet some very curious little chronoworms. If you have any interest, I've already done a slight bestiary on chronoworms on my channel. I'll link that down in the description. We reach Elder Gaspar.
You've woken up. That's good. I'm sure you have many questions. I see you've spoken with the armor-clad woman. She may be flippant, but she intends well.
He explains to us the lore behind the mastery system within the game.
Your potential is infinite. Infinite in strength, yet at risk of drowning in a sea of other selves. Countless alternate versions of you have come and gone, only to drift away into nothingness. Some of them were strong, and their power can be absorbed, given a new home in you. I have been here for a long time. Long enough for time to lose meaning. For my original self to lose meaning. I have absorbed the faded selves of too many other Gaspars to count. In the process, I've become adept at guiding the shades that flow here. If you allow me, I will guide a measure of your other selves to you. This will tie their lost fates to one which still holds hope. I warn you, your will must be absolute, or you will risk losing yourself to the storm of shades. Do you accept this risk? Then close your eyes and focus on the potential you wish to wield as I guide the shades to you.
We choose our mastery, a choice that cannot be undone.
I see that you are still you. That strength will be necessary if our world, our reality, is to have any hope.
Another time rift opens up and we return to the ruined era. Now we're stronger than our past self, and we're prepared to do what it takes to retrieve the last shard. thus allowing us to fully reassemble the Epoch. The Council Chambers. We enter the ruined era and inform Captain Ansel of the good news. We then speak with Elder Gaspar.
By Eterra, you've done it. You've returned the shard. What about Pannion? I see. Even with both of our shards, this city is lost. Our only hope lies in the Temple of Eterra, where the last shard remains. By reforming the Epoch, you will be able to return to your time and take us with you, away from this ruin. You are the only one who can help us. Thank you. There is an old passage to the surface. I will dispel the rune that keeps it sealed. The Temple of Eterra is far to the east.
They send us to the Temple of Eterra. We must recover the final shard of the Epoch and return to our time, taking the last Refuge survivors with us. Gaspar shows us how to dispel the rune door to the tunnels leading to the surface, a void-ridden surface. On our way to the passage, we stop by Chronomancer Loreen. Chronomancers study time magic and events surrounding the Epoch. There is only one mention of them that I've seen in the lore so far, Chronomancer Julra. If you have any other mentions of them or any other information that you found throughout the game, definitely let me know. We tell Loreen of the odd time rift that opened up suddenly in the Precipice. They tell us that there are rare tales of such rifts, or travelers showing up from another time. Such myths are often surrounding the shards of the Epoch. She's worried that these time rifts could be an actual sign of the end of the world of Eterra. She asks that we keep an eye out for other inexplicable time rifts, and to try and learn more about them. It's possible that we could use these to our advantage. We continue east and dispel the barrier that seals the rune door. We start making our way towards the surface, and that's the end of Chapter 2. While trying to make sense of this ruined world, we've aided the civilians of Last Refuge and retrieved the second shard of the Epoch. We visited the end of time in an unknown point in time and ascended our class fantasy even further by choosing our mastery. It's a choice that can't be reverted, a choice that requires Elder Gaspar to guide shades of our past selves to empower those specific abilities. After our mastery selection, we return to the ruined era. We set out east to the Temple of Eterra. Our goal is to find the third shard and complete this fractured artifact, and unlocking the unknown full potential of the device. Let me know your thoughts on this chapter down in the comments. As always, please like the video if you learned something about Last Epoch, and if you aren't already, please subscribe if you're looking forward to more. I'll see you all in Chapter 3. Farewell, travelers.